Good evening and a very warm welcome to our sixth form information evening. We have 2 evenings happening this week, today and tomorrow, to give you an overview of what life in the sixth form is like. And we've got various members of staff presenting to you on things like higher education, well-being, Oxbridge, and then tomorrow, leadership and young enterprise, sport, co-curricular opportunities, and then transition into the sixth form. So hopefully you'll be able to dip in and out of the events over the course of the next 2 evenings. I just wanted to give you a general overview before I hand over to Mr. Owen, who is our Director of Sixth Form. I wanted to give you a general overview of the sixth form and what's happened over the course of the last couple of years and what to expect going forward. Now, many of you will know that entry into the sixth form is really based on what the girls want to do subject-wise. And I just wanted to assure you, I know one of the questions that comes in every year is around, will my daughter get into the sixth form? I just want to assure you that during my time at Surbiton, it's very rare that a girl doesn't get into the sixth form. And in fact, for the last 2 years, because of COVID and missed lessons, we have allowed automatic entry into the sixth form. And I suppose that's the way it needs to be seen, because the vast majority of our girls, a good 80%, move on from year 11 into the sixth form. And the girls that don't are going on to do different experiences elsewhere, such as boarding school or co-educational schools. So it is an automatic entry really into our sixth form and has been for the past couple of years, but it is more about finding the right courses for the girls so that we're happy with the courses that they're on and they're doing courses that they are going to thrive in. And that whole process starts very early on in year 11 when we start to talk to them about what they would like to do when they come into the sixth form. So as I say, it's very rare that girls don't come through, so please don't let that be a worry to you. I am aware that some questions have come in with regards to this evening's events, but if you have questions as we go along, please feel free to put that question into the chat and we will try to answer it as we go through the evening. I'm going to hand over to Mr. Owen now, who's going to talk to you about some of the more specifics about the sixth form and girls getting onto the right courses, and talk to you a little bit about the facilities that we have, the courses that we offer, and various other things. But please do put questions into the chat as we go along. And can I just remind parents that next Monday we have a Meet the Head event where I will be talking you through the strategic programme for the school for the next 3 years and then answering any questions that you have. I am mindful that it's a long time since we've had parents in the school, and the event next week is for you to ask any questions that you might have about your daughter coming back into year 11 or any other questions that you have about the school. So that's next Monday. You're more than welcome to come along to that. Mr. Owen, I'm going to hand over to you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm just going to go through a little bit of housekeeping before I start, and if we can have the next slide, please. This is obviously the next one after that. Sorry, John. This is the run through for tonight and tomorrow evening as well. Everything will be available on video as well, and we'll send the links out next week or later this week for you if you have if you do miss any of these talks at all. I'm going to speak now. I'm going to give an overview of the sixth form, and I'm going to try and pick up some of the questions that were sent in via MIS, and we'll try and pick those up during this presentation and also through the other presentations where they fit in. But again, as Mrs. Glover said, if you'd like to ask any questions through the chat bar, please do. And John, if you put the next slide up, the chat bar is open and you can just add those into there. We'll try and pick those questions up probably in batches as they come through, and we'll try and group them together and answer them as we go along. OK, next slide, please. The sixth form of Surbiton is a very vibrant and happy place to be, and I think it's quite important, I suppose, to make it quite clear that it is obviously a part of the whole of the Surbiton sort of trinity of schools, but it does have its own unique and special sense to it. It's not big year 11, and we always try and make that really clear. It is a very different place to be, and the ethos is very vibrant. We want every student to find their place, to find their friends and find their niche. There is no such thing as a typical Surbiton High School student. All our students are individuals, and we have great diversity within the individuals that we have in the sixth form. And we also want our students to thrive. We want them to thrive academically. We also want them to make sure they make really great friends that they will carry on beyond school, and also that they develop those other skills that basically nourish the soul, but also at the same time, they're skills that are wanted in the world of work beyond school. And that's something that we're always looking to develop for all of our students. Next slide, please. We have some great strengths in the sixth form. We have a really experienced sixth form team. We get very few members of staff moving on. They're very committed to their work in the sixth form. We have a very stable sixth form team. I head up that team. I look after all of the pastoral care and all the academic side of the sixth form, and also the day-to-day sort of ethos of the sixth form lays in my hands. But I'm also ably assisted by an assistant director of sixth form and a head of year as well. So each year group will have a head of year, and there's an assistant director of sixth form as well. We also have academic mentors, and I'll mention their roles a little bit later. A leadership coach. We have really good connections with learning enrichments as well, who have an outpost in the sixth form to provide that care and that support in the sixth form. The careers team are based over in the sixth form as well, so it's very easy access for sixth form students to the careers team. And we also have a sixth form PA who is a direct point of contact for parents. So rather than having to worry about which member of staff to contact, our sixth form PA is a single point of contact for parents, and we think that's really helpful for quick contact with the school if necessary. The teaching and pastoral care is excellent, and in our last inspection that was commented on across the whole school, and we know that our value added in terms of our teaching is extremely high. It's often the highest of any school in the local area. It means that for a student, regardless of where they start, they should make significant improvements in our sixth form. And also our facilities are outstanding now. They've been renovated. It was a question I was asked via MIS about the sixth form facilities. And John, if we can have the next slide, please. The sixth form was renovated last year. Every classroom was renovated. The study area is renovated. We have an air-conditioned study area and common room as well, which has been great during the heat. And the common room itself is a great space for the students to relax and spend time. They can work in there if they want a more relaxed environment to work in. It's also a great social space for them as well. We have a cafe on site which the students can use, and that cafe runs from early in the morning till after school. But also we have the advantage of being close to a town, and our students are allowed to leave site at lunchtime and at break time, and they often use the local cafes, or I actually walked down to the river the other day with a visitor and there were groups of students sitting down there having lunch as well in the sunshine. So we do allow the students to go in and out of school as well and trust them to do that. And I think trust is a really important part of any sixth form, and knowing that our students are able to accept that trust and to be able to be off site without having to be monitored all the time. And that's part of that movement towards leaving school. Next slide, please, John. Now, in terms of grades, our grades last summer were fantastic, and they fit with a pretty similar pattern of previous years as well. We do have great outcomes at A level, and we do a lot of that, I have to say, is based on getting subjects right for students. And over the next year, we'll be supporting your daughters with those A-level options choices, making sure they fit in with their future aspirations, but also their subjects that your daughters will flourish in. That options process takes quite a long time. It takes the year, over the year 11 time, but we do find that's incredibly important in supporting their progress within our sixth form. Next slide, please. And if you look here, some of the departments across school have got amazing A-level results last year, and this changes from one year to the next. Another year, another department will get amazing A-level results, but the departments are strong across the whole of the sixth form, and that certainly includes relatively new subjects which students might take in the sixth form, like psychology, with 47% A stars. And so there isn't really a worry if your daughters want to pick up new A-levels or A-levels that they're taking at GCSE. We will help and guide on those decisions going forwards. Okay, next slide, please, John. Now, in terms of HE outcomes, the majority of our students apply to university, but we are understandably seeing a greater interest in things like apprenticeships and other courses as well. When we talk about universities, we also have students applying to great art courses. We have students applying to fantastic drama courses as well. And last year, 94% of our students went to Russell Group or top 10 universities, and that's an incredible figure to have 94% of our students achieving places at those universities. But on top of that, we've got students applying to some of the top art courses in the country, some of the top drama courses as well. So we do make sure there's support for every course that a student will want to take. 86% of our students got into their first choice universities, Again, we do push a little bit on UCAS. We encourage the students to take a risk and push a little bit higher. So to have 86% getting into those aspirational first choice universities is really pleasing to see. And then we have had fantastic Oxbridge outcomes. We know that we had 8 this year, and I should put that into context that we know this year or last year and this year have been particularly challenging with Oxbridge places for many schools. We always look for the tweets out from other schools about their Oxbridge numbers, but it's been quite quiet this year. A lot of our local sort of schools haven't tweeted out their Oxbridge numbers. We have had a brilliant outcome this year of 8 Oxbridge offers, and on top of that I look after the medics, dentists and vets, and I support those through the applications. We had 9 offers for medicine, for dentistry and veterinary science this year, which is a great outcome. And we normally run around about a 90 to 95% success rate over a 5-year average for applicants for medicine, dentistry and veterinary medicine to get at least one offer, in other words, to get in to do those courses. And that's something we certainly work hard to maintain. Now, in terms of A-level pathways, we offer a number of different A-level pathways. A student can take 3 A-levels, they can do 3 A-levels plus EPQ, 3 A-levels plus the AS in maths, which is great if you're taking science but don't want to take the full maths course, 3 A-levels and AS further maths, but that would need to be maths as one of the A-levels as well, and some students will take 4 A-levels. Now, normally most university offers are based on 3 A-level grades, and that's it. I sit on the interview panels for UCL Medical School. I do 2 or 3 of those every single year, which helps me guiding students with their medical applications. You need 3 A-levels, and they will take the 3 highest A-levels that you have. So 3 A-levels is a pretty standard A-level curriculum. How many do majority of students take? They take 3. Some will take the EPQ, but the majority will take 3 A-levels. 4 A-levels absolutely is doable. It's time consuming. You've got to really love your studies to do it, and often that happens with further maths, that they'll take an additional A-level for further maths. But again, we will talk to your daughters individually about the A-level curriculums that they wish to take. Next slide, please. So another question we get asked about is EPQ. Now, the EPQ is an extended project qualification. It's level 3, which means it's the equivalent of an A-level, but it's taught in half the time of an A-level. So the grade that you will get is half an A-level grade. It takes 120 study hours to complete, normally run over year 12 with a little bit of run into year 13 as well. And the idea being that the student will produce a project, normally a project, a 5,000 word dissertation, or they can produce an artifact of some kind. So in fact, we've had students make, we had a student a few years ago who made a whalebone corset, and they did that, and obviously couldn't use whalebone because it's an endangered species, group of animals. And so they had to look for materials that worked in a very similar way to whalebone, and they had to write up about why they chose that material, and they used that for their application for an art. It was actually for a fashion design course. Actually took the corset with them. So the EPQ can be a really good vehicle for students who want to take their studies beyond the curriculum and make those choices away from their A-level, but they have an interest in something. Can I have the next slide, please, John? So if I give you some examples of some of the projects that people have run in the past. So were Eleanor Aquitaine, Political Ambitions Realistic? And sometimes, I'm honest, as a scientist, I look at these and I have absolutely no idea what that project is about. But we do have a project presentation evening at the end of each year, and it's fantastic to go and watch that and see what the students have researched. With such a rapidly growing population, should controls be implemented? And normally the questions are a little bit provocative, and I really like the fact that they provoke thinking and they provoke research. Now, the EPQ has to be something that is not directly related to any of the A-levels that you're taking. It has to be an additional question to the side of those A-levels, and it can be a really good way to show an interest in a topic and to demonstrate that to an admissions tutor. And if we go to the next question, that then brings up the question, do you think it's a good idea for less academic students to do an EPQ to lower the offer from their university? So the university, there are a few universities that for some courses will potentially offer 1 grade lower for EPQ. The reality is that those universities, when you look at the background data, would have taken that student with 1 grade lower anyway. I would say for a student who, the most important thing is to get the 3 highest A-level grades you can, and the EPQ is certainly a cherry on the top. and it's a great thing to do. If it's going to get in the way of your 3 A-level studies, I would suggest that you focus on the 3 A-level studies and get the best grades there. Remember, the EPQ lowers the grade potentially for a very small number of universities, but takes 120 study hours away from your other studies potentially. So it's finding that balance from student to student. They can be brilliant for interviews, for certain interviews, not particularly useful for medicine because most of the interviews are MMI now and they don't ask you about your personal statement particularly in there, but it could be great for an interview at a university, say explaining why you want to learn economics or what you have interest in history for those universities that do interview. So it's a balance, I think, for each student to decide if the EPQ works with them, and certainly we'll talk to every student individually, potentially their parents if necessary, to talk through if the EPQ would work as an additional qualification for them. I think I'll answer the next question. So John, can we have the next slide, please? So independent study is very, very important. We know that we want our students to go off and flourish at university. We want them to or college or wherever they're going to art school. We want them to be able to be self-reliant when they get there, not to be spoon-fed, be supported during their studies at Surbiton, but at the same time to be ready to flourish beyond the school gates once they've left. So there are lots of things that we do in the sixth form to encourage that. We have a fantastic lecture day, which we couldn't run last year, but we should be able to run again next summer. And we ask university lecturers to come in and they actually deliver lectures on a morning to students. To give you some examples, we had a lecture that, which was When is Murder Murder, which was fantastic, and a really good debate around that from a legal point of view. For students who are interested in law, it was a great debate to have. There's also a supercurricular Bible that Mr. McDermott has produced, which he'll discuss a little bit more in the HE session next. And on there's a list of these massive open online courses, these mini university courses you can sign up to, often for free, and do those. So there's a whole collection of those that we offer out to students, we suggest to students. Competitions we encourage as well for students to enter competitions. Will obviously help with those essays as well. Again, a great way to show research. Online lectures, podcasts, and Surbiton Sunrise is fantastic for students interested in things like economics, which is a group of students that meet on a Friday morning for breakfast, and they look at the papers for the week and they discuss the major stories, and it's a great sort of discussion. So around the school there are lots of things that happen in the sixth form that are running just to extend that interest beyond the academics. But I think it's really important to make it clear that no student does well unless they are well, and I think that's really important. And we want our students to leave Surbiton happy, having enjoyed their time, certainly not academically hothoused through the sixth form. And Surbiton, we get amazing results, but we are not an academic hothouse. We do not put pressure on students. And I would say that the majority of my talks to students or talks to groups of students is about trying to release that pressure. We look at the timings of assessments. We look at how we discuss assessments. A lot of how a sixth form is run is caught, not taught. It's about the little conversations that you have here and there that make a big difference. And so the well-being of our students is very, very important. And the form tutors that we have in the sixth form are superb. We normally have very experienced sixth form tutors, partly because they're going to be guiding through the UCAS process. So we need staff who are experienced. And you'll notice the sixth form team, we have a lot of heads of department and other staff in that tutoring group. But we also have different layers of mentoring, and I do think of sort of support for students of having multiple layers. Sometimes it's a quick conversation, sometimes it's a longer conversation, a bit more mentoring and coaching, and sometimes obviously we have access to the school counsellors as well. So think of support within the sixth form as being multiply layered, and students being able to access the layer which is important for them, and possibly to move between those layers as well. And I think that's important that staff have that time to have those conversations and to spend those times with the students in the sixth form, and particularly pick up issues quite quickly when they're small issues, and to make sure that they are resolved as quickly as possible. But also part of well-being is, sorry, can we just go back? Part of well-being is explicitly taught, and we have scope days to do that, and we'll have talks from external speakers, and we run lots of events during the scope days. Sport and PE, Wednesday afternoon. One of the things we did was we spoke to the students about what they wanted for sport and PE. What did they want to do on a Wednesday afternoon? And obviously the hockey players want to play hockey and the netball players want to play netball, but there's many students who don't want to do that. So we spoke to them about the sport and PE that they would like, and we try to lay that on every year. We change it quite regularly. There's Pilates, there's running, there's yoga running as well. And one of the other things about wellbeing is having a context about your local area and helping other people. There's a great sense of of improved well-being for spending time with other people. So the charity work that many of your daughters will be involved in through the house system lower down the school continues into the sixth form, and that will also move into more leadership roles for the students. Can I have the next slide, please? And so this then links into the PERMA sort of model that we use lower down the school, which we continue with in the sixth form, having positive emotions, forming great relationships, feeling that you're accomplishing things every day, and that is a personal level of accomplishment. And I think we need to make sure that we celebrate that within the sixth form. The students are engaged with school and they understand the meaning around what they're doing. Okay, can I have the next slide, please? So just to give you some idea of some of the staff that work in the sixth form. So we have 2 academic mentors, and they are available to any of the students who would like additional support. So we have Mrs. Rosser. She's also an EPQ supervisor. She often picks up students who need a little bit of extra support, particularly with EPQ or time management. And they are both mentors are present in the study area every day supporting students, so they're available to them. And then we have Mr. White. Mr. White worked for a major IT company for a number of years. He's now stepped away from that and working as a mentor in sixth form. He has a real personal interest in apprenticeships as well and guiding students on apprenticeships. So again, talking about that becoming more of something that's becoming interesting to young people, the idea of taking the apprenticeship route after school. But both academic mentors are there. They're not just academic, to be honest. They will support students at times of difficulty as well, at those pinch points during the year, and they're both available. And they're very, very good at communication with parents as well, which, if you want to speak to them or have a quick phone call, you're very welcome to do that. And next slide, please. And then we have Mr. Sanders, who's our sixth form leadership coach. He will provide one-to-one, slightly more intensive coaching model. So he's not a counsellor. He's a coach trying to help students to see the positives that they have. Sometimes students are not often that reflective about their own abilities, and he wants them to really see how brilliant they can be or are at that time. And Mr. Sons has a really interesting background because he was a senior partner at a law firm, so he also helps to run our law society as well, supporting students. And he's also supported students many years after they've left Surbiton as well, and that's something certainly as a sixth form we do. Tomorrow I'm meeting a student who's leaving university this year and helping her with a medical application, and once a student has been through the sixth form, absolutely our careers and our support is always available to them at any stage. Last year I actually helped a student with a medical application 8 years after they left the school, so that is always there for them. Once they've been through the sixth form, they're a member of our sixth form team, and we'll always absolutely support them going forward. Okay, next slide, please. We want to make sure that the students have leadership opportunities, and they have that opportunity to have the experience of leading others, to gain from it, to make the mistakes that come from early leadership, and that they have that opportunity as well to act as role models for other members of the school community. Because if I'm honest, the younger students do look up to the sixth form, and the sixth form have that great leadership role within the school. So there are some of the examples of the leadership roles that are available in school for the students, and new roles appear regularly. Okay, next slide, please. So I'm going to go into some of the questions that I was asked. One of the ones was about option choices. What happens from this point onwards? So certainly there's no need to apply for our sixth form. We make the assumption that all students are coming through to the sixth form. There is no specific application process. You don't have to fill out any forms or email anybody at all. It is accepted that there is a natural progression through the school into our sixth form. The Mastery profiles have been done. I find those really, really useful, but they are just one part of a jigsaw of other discussion points that we will have as we guide your daughters through their option choices. We have the Year 10 Taster Day on Wednesday, which is a really fun and busy day, and I'm really looking forward to welcoming the Year 10s into the sixth form. And the careers newsletter comes out as well, so please do dip into that for sort of ideas and thoughts. One-to-one careers meetings will happen next term. They happen one-to-one with the students, and I was asked about this, but there are follow-up opportunities. So if you'd like a follow-up from there, that's really important. We think it's really important for the students to have a one-to-one so they can talk about what they want to do and what they're interested in, to have that open conversation with a member of staff. And then very much once the careers meeting notes come home, if you want to have a follow-up meeting, you're very, very welcome to do that. And I would suggest you have as much contact with the careers department as you wish, and do contact them and say, can I just come in and have a 20-minute conversation? And I think that's really important. in the autumn term of year 11, we ask for early A-level options to be submitted. Now, what that is not really, it's not committing to anything, it's telling us what your daughter might be interested in. We normally ask for 4 A-level subjects, and you just put down a sort of area they might be interested in, and that gives us an opportunity to have a look at what direction each member of year 11 wants to go in, so we can check that A-levels are looking about right and pick up any issues that might come up from those early indications of someone who might struggle in a subject and there might be better options for them. Then we will see every year 11 for an options meeting, and that happens after the mock exams. It happens quite quickly after the mock exams, and the whole sixth form team will see a member of the year 11 each, and from that we often have parent meetings that will come up. So we'll meet each member of year 11 and we might go, oh, that's interesting, you want to be an architect, and you've heard that you need to have maths, which may not be the case for many architecture schools. Let's have a quick phone call and get everybody together and we'll have that conversation. So at that point there'll be a lot of contact between yourselves and myself or other members of the sixth form team. But again, those can happen early if you wish them to. We also then arrange year 12 students to meet with year 11. So if any of the year 11s go, I'm not sure between RS and philosophy, we will arrange for a year 11 to come down. And what I do is I tend to choose a range of year 12s. I don't find the person who has sailed through the philosophy course and the person who has sailed through the RS course. I try to get a range of students to meet with that year 11 and to explain their experience of that course. And that can happen as well through that sort of January into February time. We then ask for the A-level options to be submitted and we review them and we have further discussions with you as well. And then at the end of year 11, there'll be work experience, which can sometimes sort of influence A-level options even once they've been submitted. So although we write the timetable February to May, June time, we'll always look at changing these if necessary for students within the framework of the timetable that's been produced. So if someone suddenly wants to change their A-level options, we'll always look at that. We try to be as flexible as we can because we do again think that getting A-level options right for students is a foundation for them having a really successful time in our sixth form. Next slide, John. So again, don't need to apply for a place in sixth form, that's fine. Is there enough space for all students to join the sixth form? Yes, absolutely. There's quite a lot of flexibility on space in the sixth form. There's also some bigger year groups and some smaller year groups, and we've managed that very, very carefully since the start of year 7. And that means that normally if there's a bigger year group coming in, there's a bigger year group leaving, and that will leave the space. So we have a total space for a certain number of sixth formers, and we make sure between those 2 years of year 12 and year 13 there is space for those students. So absolutely, and that's certainly not something, I think there's 2 parts to that question. One is, does that mean we're going to be somehow hyper selective about sixth formers? I think Mrs. Glover has completely covered that for you. We're certainly not. We just want to make sure that A-level choice is right. We're not in any way. We want your daughters to come into the sixth form. The other thing is, will it affect my daughter's experience in sixth form because there won't be space in sixth form? Absolutely not. There's plenty of space, and the students are pretty flexible on their use of space. We have a common room. They use form rooms for lunch break as well because they want to be in smaller groups. People go off site. The study area is really big. We manage the numbers in the study area through the timetable. So even if a year group is slightly larger than a previously year group, it won't affect the sixth form experience. And I think that's really important. We're very, very keen on that sixth form experience. So please don't try to sort of worry about numbers. It's not an issue at all. John, can we just move on? So we do ask for some sixth form entry requirements, but again, we are really flexible on these where we know that a student will succeed and do well in those subjects. And I mean that on a personal level as well. Are they going to meet the grades that they need for their next progression onto HE? These are just guidelines and we will look at them. And there's a very important safety valve in all of these grades, which is that we will talk to the teachers as well. Because myself as a biology teacher, if someone says to me, the student has a 7 at GCSE, could they cope with the A-level? I will go, well, I've taught that student, it's not an issue at all. I've seen them work at a very high level in those subjects. So we're going to finish off now. Just hopefully that's removed any concerns about entry requirements that are there. They are really there just for support and guidance, particularly in some of the subjects where we know there's a close link between GCSE and A-level. I'm just going to make sure to answer the last set of questions. Can you just put up the 2 more slides on, John? Next one, please. Okay, what happens if my daughter is likely to miss the entry requirements for sixth form? We'll have that conversation. Normally we can wiggle things around, we can get the subjects right, but we will certainly let you know if there's any concerns about the subjects they've opted for and GCSE. Obviously the most important thing is to try and boost their GCSE grade up to meet that if we can. So we'll have those conversations pretty early on, and how would effective lockdown and COVID on progress be accounted? We will see what happens next year in terms of examinations and what will happen in terms of grading for GCSEs. We've done this many times. We will again have conversations with teachers if we're concerned about the grades in a certain subject and a student missing it. You know, in art, it's quite easy to go to an art teacher and say, will they cope with the A level? Absolutely, they're a brilliant artist. That just this piece of coursework didn't quite fall in the right direction for them. So again, we will make sure that we have those conversations and we take a very personalized approach to that. So the entry requirements are there just for guidance, but the most important thing is to have a conversation with us. I can see Mrs. Glover, I'm not sure if you're jumping back in or not. I didn't know, so I've got you on the hop there. No, okay, I think we're going to run off now to the next session, which is, sorry, you'll listen to me again doing HE, but I'll try and get Mr. McDermott to speak as much as possible. So thank you so much. If there's any questions that come through, please you can always email me if necessary as well. I'm very open to conversations as well. So thank you for attending, and we will see you in the next session in a few minutes.